Hello, my name is Host Eric, and I am here with famous people Hami, Nandi, and INFP listener, my supervisor, is here as well, providing silent supervision. It's like my conscience sitting on my shoulder. Uh, I wanted to talk about the issue of quantum mechanics, the split attention paradox, and the nature of cognitive functions. So, one thing that I think it's fair to say everybody agrees on is that one of the laws of quantum mechanics is that you can't both know where a particle is exactly and which direction it's going exactly concurrently. So the idea of that being that just like a cognitive function, you can't both be focusing on your own emotions and other people's emotions. That's why we have one but not the other. The other is unconscious. So, what I want to think about, first of all, is this issue of the fact that there's a mechanism. That is to say, that there's a quality within the relational natures of these two metrics, where something is and where it's going, that cause them to uh, be mutually, not mutually exclusive, but to the extent that you know one, you can't know the other because it's a split attention problem. That your attention can't be concurrently on both, and it requires your attention to be on it to actually know it. So I'm gonna leave for 1 second to turn off the water out here and leave you to think about that for a second. You are a muddy mess. Ay, ay, ay. Compton's all covered in mud. Fantastic, just what I needed. So, okay. The idea is that there's a possible relationship between things that is defined in that nature. We know that a functioning seesaw, that one end has to be down if the other one's up. Definitionally, it's so. And cognitive functions operate on that same principle. The reason we don't have 8 conscious functions is not because we just can't hang with that many conscious functions. It's that in order to prioritize one, the other one has to be assumed to be uh, unchanging or to deal with itself. For me to be able to attend to the emotions of others and be concerned about that primarily means learning to focus in that directionality. And one might imagine that it could function like one of those visual illusions that you can make it seem look like a face in one way you look at it and a vase another way you look at it. But regardless, you wouldn't be able to do both concurrently. So that's why it's, if we think about it in that sense, that we understand that the issue of quantum mechanics is an issue of split attention, that you can only attend to one matter at a time. And while it may sound weird because we're saying you can't know concurrently these two facts, the reason it sounds weird is because knowledge is considered to be uh, not time sensitive in some ways. So if I know, I can know two things about something, no problem, concurrently, right? I can know that I am a male, and I can know that I'm a debate coach. I can know both those things at the same time. It's not considered to be a problem of split attention because I might have to present them consecutively, but the fact that I'm both retains its truth value across time, unless something changes, right? But the problem is not everything operates parallel like that. My debate coachedness and my maleness are not conditional upon each other in any way. But location and direction in space is really saying I want to know both its its location relative to other objects in space right now, and I want to be able to predict accurately its location in space over time. So I want to know both exactly its status without time and concurrently its status with time. And you can't do both of those because uh, if you can't do both of those at the same time because of the fact that one has duration and one doesn't. So they don't mesh on planes of existence, so to speak. One's concerned with time objects and one's concerned with space objects. You might say you can't know something's identity as a space object concurrently while knowing its identity as a time object. You might say that because, see, the reason directionality and momentum and force vector in general is a time object is because it's prediction. It's saying I predict based on the information now, extrapolating out, that it's going to be here then. And when you start making a prediction, then you're no longer describing the dimension of physical reference. You're describing a human experience of an observed future yet to be manifest within the dimension of physical reference. So those are my initial thoughts on that topic there, and I'd love to hear any feedback anybody has, either on mic or in chat, either way.
I think it makes, if you think about it logically, it makes sense that it should work that way. Because you could also say that the brain do, doesn't have, like when you talk about cognitive functions, you could also say that the brain can't use both cognitive functions at the same time because it doesn't have enough energy to use them at the same time.
But see,
It
that's
takes
a
too much
different.
energy.
That may be
So
the
it has
case.
to,
I'm not saying that's wrong, but I'm saying that reason is exclusive of the reason I'm saying. So it's one or the other of our two reasons. It's not both. Because what I'm saying is the reason I can't have both conscious Fi and conscious Fe is because the frame of Fe is a reflexive way of approaching things. It's a habit of noting possible pitfalls and of noting data suggesting mistakes, of noting data suggesting successes, and of evaluating either mechanisms according to that or rewards according to that, like I do with it in the third slot. See, that's the problem with this is why INFJs get upset if you say something about their TI. It's because it's where they get their rewards from ultimately. They need to feel as though they're intelligently interacting with the universe in order to feel as though they're rewarded in their activities. So I think in this instance, you're looking at a reflex-like handedness, and the reason you can't be both is because the thing is, which one do you favor? Not how, not, and it's a binary choice. You have to have, by definition, your go-to default hand has to be go-to default, which means you don't consider using the other one necessarily. Same thing with cognitive functions. When you come upon a situation in the world, you it's a reflex. Now, if in fact it was your way, which it might be, I'm not saying it's definitely not. I'm just saying that this is why they're exclusive of each other. If it were your way, then it would be a matter of, okay, it takes too much energy, meaning uh, it would require you to consciously apply attention to both the other person and yourself, but I don't understand how you can split your attention like that anyway. You'd have to take turns and somehow.
I guess you could say that my theory could maybe apply to the different functions instead of one function itself.
Okay, that's true. Good point. Good point. That would make more sense. Um, to use SI and FE together, I mean, some of them I think we use together naturally. We use a perceiving and a judging function as our one twos automatically, right? So our NI and I mean NI and TE for you, NE and TI for me, those things are kind of intertwined. At least I feel as though they are. How do you feel about that? Can you distinguish between them clearly?
Like I agree with you because if you think about the model, if you just use intuition, there's no way you can make a judgment or a decision on whatever you're perceiving. So if you're using any to perceive things around you, there's no way that you can take it and fit it logically into your framework because you have nothing to judge it by. You're just perceiving things.
Well, okay, I get that, but I think in particular that NI produces things that are resonant of soundness, whereas NE produces things that are resonant of unsoundness on some level in some context. Now, the thing is, I think we require either a F or a T to to be able to differentiate between which things are good and which things are bad. But I think that things come up maybe with an inherent goodness or badness that we need to learn to recognize more accurately using our tools rather than uh, our tools affixing the status by making the decision because as reality tells us we can decide wrong.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think that's an intuitive in the first slot perspective that a judger in the first slot might disagree about that.
Yeah, that's always confused me how because I know how it works. If your first function is a perceiving function, then you have a second judging function. But how does it work when you have a judging function as your first function
Well, see,
and a
this is the
perceiving as
thing.
your second?
This is another quantum aspect to the whole thing, and it's an analogy I used in a video yesterday, I think. It's that you're either proceeding down the path, walking down the path, or you're choosing the path, or you're evaluating the path you're on. So I think that SE is obsessed with walking down the path. NE is obsessed with choosing the path. And TI is obsessed with evaluating the path to see if it's fit. That's why TI DOMs have more trouble, at least INTPs have trouble with the getting shit done thing, right? It's because
Yeah.
they've got SE in the seventh slot, and so they're just judging the path all the time. They're just evaluating, is this really the right path? They stand there and go, am I really on the right path? They never get anywhere, you know?
Yeah.
So, the whereas with the ISTP, with the TI, but then their second thing is not any, it's SE, they are much more well equipped because they have an order of operations that makes sense. Their primary tool function is to execute those decisions. rather than to evaluate them. I mean, see, that's the thing. Judging for fitness versus uh, proceeding down a path is going to manifest really differently. And so, so TI with NE as a tool is going to say, I'm concerned. If NE's first is going to be concerned with choosing new paths, so then it's going to be like, okay, I the problem I have is I only go down the path a little ways, and then I want to start a new path. That's NETI. TINE goes, okay, I'm on this path. I've chosen the path, but now I'm considering possible ways in which um, either other paths might be better, or this path might be unfit. So instead of going and running off to start a new path, they go, hold on a second, let me make sure I've chosen the right path in the first place. Since I have so many possible choices, my tool function is giving me so many possible choices, my judging function says, whoa, 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 let me stop and check out these choices and make sure that I'm on the right path. I want to construct this thing very carefully. I want it to be consistent. Now, I guess the NI-DOM would be a path chooser as well, like the NE-DOM. However, they choose bigger paths. So the whole of their path is of a larger size. It comprises a day's jaunt rather than the next 15 minutes, you know?
Yeah.
And then the TE, I'm not sure. TE Dom, I guess, is thinking they're all about building the paths.
Or like coming up with a plan.
Right. They're about predicting the path, right? Predicting the path, and then if you're if you're TESI, you're really about predicting the path, and then your role function is to actually do it, which is like perfect if you're fucking ENTJ as far as getting shit done, right? Hello, Nandi. Hello, T-shirts. Well, well, well. If it isn't famous people and hosts, yes, it is. It is we. We are here. Any other comments about this notion of relationships between things that are inversely proportional, that are related in such a way that you have to turn it over? In other words, you can't see that both the heads and the tails of a coin at the same time kind of phenomenon. You can only see one at a time. That experience.
It seems to make sense because even if you look at nature of things that have an inverse relationship, one has to work while the other one takes a back seat.
Like, can you tell me other examples in nature of things that do that?
But actually, I'm thinking right now.
I'm trying to think of one too.
Yeah, but if you look at mathematical inverses too,
Okay.
there's always
Go ahead. Tell me. Sorry.
yeah one side always proceeds while the other takes a back seat. So as one, even if you look at like functions, as one increases, the other one decreases, and vice versa. But they never increase at the same time because it just wouldn't work.
Well, I think with the attitude, as apparently it's called, I learned yesterday, whatever I've been calling it, I don't know. As the attitude seems to be binary and exclusive, one or the other, period. The SINE relationship is a zero sum relationship. There's a total of, let's say, one amount of attention in a given day. And it's comprised of how many parts you want to break it up into, how many hours is devoted to NE or SI attention. And so they both have to draw from the same pool. And NE habitually draws way more from their pool than SI gets to draw. So it works like that, you know? And then, yeah, that's what I had to say about that. T-shirts asks, am I absolutely positive that he's an ENTP? Yeah,
Pretty sure it's an ENTP.
absolutely positive. What do you think he might be? Crazy?
No, I mean he seems to fit like the stereotypical ENTP.
Yeah, you're totally your textbook, dude. Your textbook. No, look, that's the thing. When I said you're crazy, meaning crazy enough to think you're not an ENTP. Uh, okay. So, any other thoughts on the quantum stuff? Okay. So, given then that we have this kind of relationship, probably where we see things being, we see all sorts of different relationships between things in nature. We see parasitic relationships, like uh, something that takes from one thing and offers nothing in return, like a parasite on a creature. We see symbiotic relationships, where it provides a useful service and gets something in return. And we see
Mutual.
relation. What's give me that? Give me an example of another one.
I mean, I guess it would be the same, similar to symbiotic, where one partner gets a benefit and the other one gets a benefit as well.
And there's directly adversarial in a way that one is, to the extent they come into contact with the other, one attempts to eliminate the other for no gain or for no purpose. I mean, not to consume them to eat them, for example. Not to subsume. I mean, that's another relationship. One attempts to subsume the other. But then yet another relationship would be one attempts to destroy the other. And another relationship is one attempts to protect the other. And it's like there's all these different kind of relationships. So, for example, on two sides of a coin, only one can be up, right? So one is an alternative in a closed set of another. That's like basically what we're talking about with attitude. And that kind of relationship is exactly the same relationship that is manifesting at the quantum level in quantum mechanics. That's my central thesis here. Thanks for watching Talking with Famous People. And for the love of all that is holy, will you please, please, please not forget to eat plenty of cheese.